Good morning. All humans share something in common. We all want to be happy. And we go the length to make sure that at least we give ourselves the highest chance to be happy. So, for instance, my parents migrated to Canada to give us, from their perspective, the highest chance of being happy by providing us with the best, from their perspective, the best education, the best economic chance. And so they've really gone the distance, they've really done things and put themselves in very difficult situations to give us and give themselves the highest chance of happiness from their perspective of what happiness is and what gives them happiness and what would give their kids by default happiness, because we assume what gives us happiness or what makes us happy will make other people happy as well. It's a bias fallacy, essentially. Our bias towards what we like and what we dislike and what makes us happy makes us think that it is also what makes other people happy, or what makes them sad, or what gives them joy, or what gives them that dissatisfaction. Anyway, that's of course a topic for another video, but you see this all around you. People are always going a distance to make themselves happy, or at least give themselves the highest chance of happiness. And the inevitable result for many of our actions as humanity to be happy is this sense of dissatisfaction. See, if you study Buddhism, or if you at least you're aware of the Four Noble Truths, you maybe heard the first noble truth: life is suffering. Now that is a misrepresentation of what Buddha was trying to communicate. It actually, if you translate it properly from the original language of Pali, it means, what is Buddha is saying is life is unsatisfactory. It's not suffering. Okay, because the statement life is suffering is very doom and gloom type statement, and I personally do not agree with that statement. I don't think life is suffering, but I do think that life is unsatisfactory because of our corrupted worldview. And in the fourth noble truth, you have, I think, the eightfold path, and one of the 8 foundations of the eightfold path is right view. Because us humans in the modern humans, right? We're talking about modern humanity, modern human in this age, in this dark age, in this Kali Yuga. Our minds are very corrupt, and we have the wrong view. And so one of the wrong views that we have is this idea of happiness, really. Okay? Our idea of happiness is very misguided, to say the least. So I'd like to discuss 2 different concepts that may seem to be the same on the surface, but are quite different. If you go deep into the ocean, you realize, wow, that's a different ocean. And that is happiness and contentment. Happiness versus contentment. And I'd like to discuss the subtle and the not so subtle differences between happiness and contentment. So let me give you an example of happiness. Happiness is eating your favorite chocolate bar, right? In the past, happiness for me was getting 2 big chunky bars and eating them. Not one. One wasn't enough. I had to get 2. I didn't eat them every day, but whenever I did, one of my ideas of what happiness is getting 2 chunky bars and eating them. Another idea of happiness in the past for me was getting a pizza, big pizza, several of them with my friends, and then sitting around for the next 5-6 hours playing the game Risk. It's a board game, quite fun. I think you need 5 people for it, if I remember correctly. You need a specific amount of people. That was also like an idea for me of what happiness is. And of course, I can go on and on and on and on and on and on. But what you will see in common with all these different things is that this is a very much temporary state of joy, a state of pleasure, a state of happiness that comes and that goes. And it's not so troubling that it comes and goes, because everything, comes and goes, right? Everything has this cycle in this temporal world. Everything comes to exist, gets created by the principle of Brahman, gets preserved by the principle of Vishnu. So everything has a life expectancy of some sort, an expiry date, and then everything gets destroyed by the principle of Shiva. It's just everything rises, stays, preserves itself for some time, and then gets destroyed, just disappears, dies. It's not so much troubling that things like, eating 2 chunky bars, or, getting several big pizzas and stuffing yourself with those pizzas and just kind of having a fun time with your friends. It's not so troubling that this comes, stays for a little while and goes, but the problem is the residues, the negative consequences that it leaves behind, ironically and ultimately is actually taking away from the true source of happiness. And that's where we're getting into contentment. Okay, contentment. So contentment is a state in which one finds themselves in a perpetual state of happiness. But it's perhaps not the ecstatic happiness that you find in eating chunky bars or stuffing yourself down with pizza. There's a sense of ecstasy to that. Also another example that pops in my mind, and I think that, that's somewhat of an extreme example here, is like drugs like MDMA, for example, ecstasy. It's called ecstasy because you take it and then your dopamine receptors in your brain are absolutely firing, and you are in a state of ecstasy. You're in a state of total happiness, total joy, total pleasure, transcendence even, only to inevitably have those dopamine receptors get burned out, only to be left with a depression, in which a lot of people who have experimented with these substances like ecstasy, MDMA, report feeling depressed up to a week. So as you can see, anything that is going to leave a negative residue behind is not actually making you happy. I think that's a fair statement to make. If something leaves a negative short-term, medium-term, and or long-term negative residue behind, it is only and only giving you the illusion of happiness, but is ultimately actually taking away from your happiness. Why do I say that? It's taking away from your contentment. Why do I say that? Because contentment is the true source of happiness. Because contentment is, in a way, not always, but in a way, to a large extent, detached, in a healthy way, detached from the external circumstances. Contentment is a state in which you are satisfied because you exist, because you are. That's it. You're not satisfied because you have a ton of money. You're not satisfied because you're famous, because you're adored, because you're loved by many. You're satisfied because you exist, because you are your essence, your true nature. You are Sat Chit Ananda. It's this Sanskrit description of the true nature of self, which translates to you are absolute existence, you are absolute knowledge, you are absolute bliss, you are bliss. That's the nature of self. So that sense of contentment is the recognition and the embodiment of your true essence, which is bliss, absolute bliss. Ananda means absolute bliss. So yeah, so as you could see, these things are quite different. Happiness versus contentment. I mean, contentment is the true happiness, but for the sake of convenience and for the sake of argument, we are calling them different things. But happiness, in this case, happiness such as like, let's say happiness is associated with dopamine, is actually not happiness but the illusion of happiness, whereas contentment, which is associated, funny enough, with a different neurotransmitter, which is serotonin, is a state of well-being, which is the true happiness. But for the sake of argument here, we're going to refer to happiness as the temporary state of elevation, and we're going to refer to contentment as the perpetual and consistent and sustainable state of well-being. Okay, it's not necessarily ecstatic, although it can be. Okay, it can be. You can be in a perpetual state of ecstasy, a cocktail of dopamine and serotonin. But for the sake of argument, we're gonna say serotonin is a state of well-being which can also be ecstatic, just like happiness. You can experience the same ecstasy that you would taking ecstasy pills just by being, literally, just by being, without any real reason. Happiness requires a reason, contentment does not require any reason. Okay? Although reasons can be a fuel to drive that contentment. So you could start with a base of contentment, and then you can start to count your blessings, and then you realize you have so much. Like you realize, well, I have a lot of money, or I have great health, or I have a lot of fame. And then that can only add to your already pre-existing default state of contentment. Okay? But it's not the cause of it. It's simply just a recognition that, wow, I have so much, and it only adds to your default state of contentment. Okay? So humanity is caught in the pursuit of happiness, as illustrated by the United States Constitution, which says, you have the right to bear arms, and you have the right to pursue happiness. Because humanity is caught in the pursuit of happiness, but actually very, 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 very few people are actually happy, which is contentment. Very few people are content. Very, very, very few individuals alive are true and well, they're truly content. Including myself. I catch myself, this is like dozing off on what could be, or things that I want, or I'm trying to escape the moment. Maybe perhaps I'm having a rough day, I'm exhausted, I'm bedridden for some reason, maybe I'm fasting and I'm just detoxing like crazy, and I find myself saying, well, I wish things are different. I find myself dissatisfied, discontent. I find myself at times taking things for granted, taking things I have for granted, and it happens a lot. I'll be honest, it happens a lot. Okay? So, yeah, humanity is just caught in the pursuit of happiness, not recognizing, not realizing that the true happiness is contentment, is being content for no reason, actually. Okay? So, alright, so that's nice. You understand what I just said. You understand what I'm saying here. You understand, yeah, okay, I get it, Saeed, there's a difference here. I know what you mean, because there were times where I found myself just content for no reason. And then I was doing gratitude and gratitude rituals, and I was doing gratitude affirmations, and I felt the best I ever felt. And it's true, if I personally look back in my own life, and I see periods where I was consciously practicing gratitude and just practicing like contentment, gratitude for just what is and whatever was. Like, I remember breaking my wrist and having to get surgeries, and I've shown this before for you guys, but you can see the scar here. See that? Very pretty visible, right? I had 2 wrist surgeries there, and I couldn't do the things I love to do, and I at the time didn't have all that much money. And at the time, of course, my health, I couldn't work out. Fitness was my passion. I couldn't work out. I couldn't do many things. So the things that would actually give me happiness, I couldn't do them anymore. So what I did instead is I just like started practicing conscious gratitude. I just started saying thank you for everything on a daily basis, like for 1 hour every day. And I was so ecstatic in that period of my life. Here I am, not being able to do the things I love to do, the things that give me happiness, dopamine. Going to the gym gives me dopamine, right? I was like a superstar in the gym, you know. I was like, I was adored by people. You know, I loved working out, and then people would adore what I would do, and then they would, you know, and then I would just get all this dopamine. It makes me feel happy, get that temporary sense of joy and elevation. And I couldn't do all these things. So instead, I turned for inward happiness, which is just happiness for what is. And I began to practice conscious gratitude. I began to say like gratitude affirmations, and I began to just count my blessings and write down. I had a gratitude journal. Man, I felt the best I've ever felt in my life. I was just in a state of joy. I was like, I have so much. I had a cast on for 7 months. They butchered my first surgery, and I said, thank you. And I said, thank you, I'm learning, thank you. And I went into the second surgery, and I said, thank you. Even though I was scared shitless that, you know, they're gonna butcher that again. And who knows, maybe I'll never be able to go to the gym again. I was scared. So, but I was saying thank you for everything. And I was feeling really ecstatic after a while. You have to build up this energy of gratitude. So yeah, so then here we go. You know, that's true happiness, contentment. And how many of us are truly content? Raise your hands. I'm not raising my hands. Okay, I'm not raising my hands. I'm caught in the same corruption of this wrong view of what happiness is. I'm caught in it. I really am. And what woke me up was, you know, when I started to practice gratitude consciously, and what woke me up even further is when I started, you know, doing mushrooms. And then one day, I think it was, you know, in the early stages of doing mushrooms, it was a sunny day. And then I just sat under the sun, and I was like, whoa, I have arrived. There is nowhere to go, there is nothing to do. Everything is perfect. The sun shining on me, I'm happy, I'm content. I don't want anything else from life. And yeah, I felt this at a deep experiential level. I was like, interesting. Because every time I would take mushrooms, I just feel so content. And I was like, maybe that's a higher state of consciousness. Maybe that's what those gurus talk about. The gurus that spend all their life purifying their minds and their bodies. And they're not seeking anything. There's no more seeking. You're just an open conduit. You receive from God. If God gives you health, you receive it. If God gives you money, you receive it. If God gives you blessings, you say, thank you, God, you receive it. But if at the same time you have nothing, in the material sense, you have nothing, you're just as content as having everything. You know, you're just as content. And then as I realized, I think that's a higher state of being. There is a higher state of being. It's a state of non-attachment. It's a state of non-seeking, really. It's not a state of renouncing everything, saying, well, I'm content, so if somebody comes in and gives me $1 million, I'm going to say no. I mean, if you guys want to donate, I've got a donation link down below in the description. I mean, if you got a couple of $1 million hanging around doing nothing, I'll take that off your hands. I'm open to receive. Okay? So it's not renouncing the world or renouncing material things. It's just being content with what is. Being content with having and receive and open to receiving material things. That people, like, you know, if someone gives you $1 million, you're gonna be ecstatic, right? You're gonna have dopamine. But actually, if you're living in a day-to-day, moment-to-moment state of contentment, you'll be appreciative of someone giving you that much material things. But for most humans, because humans seek happiness through material things, they'll be ecstatic. But if someone is actually content on a moment-to-moment basis, they'll be appreciative of it. But they won't be like, oh my God, someone give me $1 million. It'll just be like, oh, wow, I appreciate that, thank you, and open to receive. But because you already have everything, because you have the inner peace, you have the inner awareness that what is always perfect, and you just by you existing, everything is just blissful. You're appreciative, you're receiving it, but you're not like ecstatic, right? Because you don't really need a dopamine rush here and there, because you have everything. You have a well-being, and if you actually cultivate that, you even have dopamine. You have everything. You have everything. You can light up your brain, by the way, on dopamine just by practicing gratitude for 30 minutes. Really, it's powerful. We're alchemists. So, hopefully, I hope we understand that when it's not being content is not renouncing the world, and if someone gives you a Ferrari or $1 million, or I don't know, gives you a beautiful home, or gives you a 1 year reservation in a luxury hotel, it's not that you renounce it. It's you appreciate it, you receive it, you're open to receiving it, but it you're not attached to that. Your happiness doesn't depend on those things. That's what I'm trying to say here. Your happiness is independent of anything that will give you a short-term happiness, but perhaps will either give you long-term consequences, or maybe not. It's just you're independent. Your happiness is dependent on your inner peace. And that inner peace, how do we cultivate that? So let me get to that in a second here. How do we cultivate contentment? Okay, Saeed, this is nice. I understand what you're saying. I experienced true contentment before. It was the most beautiful, wonderful thing in my life. I understand what you're saying about the temporary happiness. I understand it. It's gotten me in trouble. It actually gave me the illusion. But how do I cultivate this contentment, this inner peace on a moment-to-moment basis? How do I do that? Well, we're gonna get to that in a second here. I just want to go back to a particular something I said in the beginning, that anything that's gonna give you a negative residue, long-term, short-term, medium-term, long-term negative consequences is actually giving you the illusion of happiness. Let's talk about, like, junk food, for instance. That's actually taking away from your contentment. Why is that? It's actually not giving you, it's giving you the illusion of happiness, and it's actually giving you dissatisfaction for two reasons. A, because you notice that after eating, let's say, chunky bar, you want something salty. These things actually keep you in a state of seeking. They actually don't give you happiness. They give you the illusion of happiness. So if you eat something salty, well, I want something sweet. If I eat something sweet, I want something salty. And that cycle continues, right? So it's actually making you more miserable, less happy, more dissatisfied. But also in the short term, medium term, and long term, it's making your body deteriorate. It's giving you pain. Your joints hurt, your muscles hurt, you get a headache, you get a migraine, which actually takes away from your inner peace, because if your body ain't peaceful, it's hard to find that inner peace. So this is what we're going to talk about now. Okay, we're going to talk about how do we cultivate. What's going on with the lighting? That's it. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so if your body is not in a state of contentment, and it's not going to be in a state of contentment if you put the wrong things in it, it's much more difficult to find inner peace. So now we talk about how do we cultivate this inner peace. And I'm right there with you, a student. I'm not a master at this. I'm just right along with you trying to learn. How do we cultivate this persistent, sustainable, moment-to-moment state of contentment? First of all, you have to understand, this state is a cultivation state. It's not a state that you can flip a switch on and get there. It's like, it takes such delicate, you have to treat it like sleep. It takes such delicate act of balance and persistent practice. Like, imagine in the same way you have to sleep every day. Like, if you miss 3 nights of sleep, first of all, I think your body will just knock you out after maybe 72 hours, less than that. It will just leave you unconscious. But let's say you're sleeping like 3 hours for 3 nights in a row. You're gonna be miserable by like the 4th day. You're gonna be tired, you're gonna be exhausted. You're gonna be really exhausted. So to maintain your energy as high as it can, you wanna sleep every day, like 8 hours, 9 hours, right? In the same way, you don't wanna even miss a single night of sleep. In the same way, you almost don't wanna miss a single day of conscious cultivation of contentment. Okay, it's that important to you. You have to treat it like sleep. You don't want to miss a single day of it. And it's something that adds up, that accumulates. You only see the benefits of it in an accumulative fashion. because it's actually the opposite of instant gratification. It's delayed gratification in a way, although it will give you instant gratification, but not in the way that 2-3 chunky bars will, how they hijack your dopamine. It's not in the way that ecstasy pills will do. It's not in the way it's not in a way like that. It's just not. It's different. The benefits are accumulative, but because they're accumulative and you slowly build it up, it's a lot more sustainable and a lot more real. It's real happiness. It's inner happiness. It's the source of happiness. And we mistake that for chasing and chasing things. Like another thing you can chase, it's not just material things. It's like validation. If you're into like picking up girls, if you get a girl's number, or if you get a smile from her, or if you get a date with her, or if you succeed, you close her number, you go up to a girl and you make her like you, you get instant gratification, dopamine, until your next time, and you realize with these things, if you want to know something is giving you the illusion of happiness, watch how quickly you're not happy anymore, you're seeking again. The quicker you're seeking again, the more of an illusion that thing is giving you happiness. Contentment, there's no seeking. It's just you're happy. You're happy with what is. What is, you're just happy with it. You're content. Okay? So the way you're going to see these benefits of contentment is a cumulative effect. So what we want to do is we want to have our bodies in a state of peace and our mind in a state of peace. So we want to get rid of pains in our bodies. We want to get rid of mucus in our bodies. We want to get rid of headaches. We want to get rid of clogged sinuses. We want to get rid of acid pains all around our shoulder, our neck. We want to get rid of our knee problems, our knee pain. We want to be in a peaceful body. And the way to do that, my friends, is very, very simple. And again, this takes cultivation, is fasting. This is why people often report feeling more spiritual. The longer the fast is, the more connection with the divine they feel, is because their bodies are healing. Their pains are going away. Their constant nagging knee pains going away. The constant nagging back. It's very difficult to feel content in the moment of what is when your body's in a state of aching all the time. So you fast responsibly, and then you eat your species specific diet, which is fruits and some vegetables, mostly leafy greens. Okay, there's just no way around it. You're gonna hit a plateau if you're not, like, if a shark is eating grass, it's gonna be miserable, sooner or later. And yes, our bodies do take abuse, and we take in stimulants. I've got a video coming up on stimulants, why they're giving you another illusion, the illusion of energy. Okay, but really, if you're not eating what your vehicle is designed to do, if you're not putting the correct fossil fuel in it, of course, even better, refer to my recent video on breatharianism, better if you can connect with subtler, cleaner forms of energy like solar. But if you must, put in the cleanest source of fossil fuel. That would be fruits. Everything about us screams frugivore. And some vegetables, some vegetables, some leafy greens, maybe just a little bit of nuts and seeds here and there. Okay, so really you want your body to be really clean. And as you get on this path of eating well, there's going to be a period of detoxification. There's going to be a period of cleansing in which it's going to be tough. But once you get through that, you're like, whoa, I feel peace. I feel calm. Other thing is, your body's designed to move. You want to walk a lot. You want to move a lot. You want to be active. Okay? We are bipedal animals, beings. We stand on 2 feet. We are the longest walking animal. In the same way that cheetahs are the fastest, most accelerating, fastest land animal, we are the longest walking land animal. Okay, so we want to move our bodies, we want to keep the energy flowing. Okay, low impact, not if you're running too much, you're putting your body under way too much stress. Okay, low impact, that's what our bodies are optimally designed for. If you're a bodybuilder, look at what happens to most bodybuilders. But in their 40s, 50s, they get heart issues. Many young bodybuilders die because it's not what the human body is designed to do. It's too much stress. So low impact activity. Okay, things like that. Positive stressors like being in a cold water for 5-10 minutes. Things like that. Okay, so you want to be moving. You want to keep your body active. You want to stretch. And I think on top of this list of keeping your body in a state of peace is what you put in your body, which is, you want to put in fruits. You want to also not eat all day. That's another thing. Regardless of what you're eating, you want to you want to just eat. You want to have a small eating window, perhaps, a few hours a day. Maybe up to 6, 7, 8 at the most. All right? So we want our bodies to be in a state of peace. So in Hatha Yoga, for instance, in the yoga of Patanjali, stretching is very important. I think it's the fourth limb. It's the fourth limb of the eight, of Patanjali's 8-limb path of yoga, right? I think it's called Hatha Yoga. You get to stretch because you want your body, you want to basically take the acidity out of your body. Another thing, so if you follow all the ancient knowledge and wisdom and all the people that came with systems, like Patanjali came up with the system of yoga, you'll find fasting on top of the list. So, in yoga, I think in the yamas and niyamas, it's called abstinence. They get you to do a bunch of fasting, and you eat once a day, small meal, you see, and then stretching to release all the acids. So these guys know there must be a process of purification first. And this is how you purify your body. You stretch it, you move it, and then you put the right food in it in small quantities. You fast, okay? You want it to be in a state of peace. As long as this vehicle here is nagging you, it's going to be difficult to find that moment-to-moment, sustainable, just constant state of contentment. It's going to be very, very difficult. Your body's nagging you. It's very difficult when your body's nagging you. Okay? So I would put that on top of my list right now. Purify your body. If you want it to be content. If you want the real food, not the illusion of it. If you don't see all these things we chase, fame, validation, material objects, it's the mirage. It's not the actual water. The actual water, because we're all thirsty for this happiness, right? We're all pursuing it. The real water is in what we're talking about right now, right here. It's moment-to-moment, constant feeling of contentment for what is, simply what is. No reason, really. Just what is. I am. That's it. Okay, body, very important. You want to keep your body in a state of peace. Okay, number 2. Or not number 2. Yeah, mind. Purify your mind. Now, how do we purify our mind? Well, we have to practice conscious gratitude. So, have a gratitude ritual. Have a gratitude habit on a daily basis. Treat it like sleep, like you don't want to miss on it. A gratitude journal will do. Write down every day. Take 15 minutes when you wake up or before you go to bed, or preferably both. Write down 5 or 10 things you're grateful for and really, really concentrate on them. Okay? Another thing you could do is you could just do an affirmation, thank you. Just for 20 minutes a day. In your meditation, just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For 20 minutes. So you want to do something consciously. You want to do this consciously. You want to treat this like sleep. Every day, set aside 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Call it gratitude hour, gratitude whatever. Call it something. Be like, okay, treat it like every day I go to sleep at 10. Every day. So same thing. Every day, and I don't do this, by the way. This is something I would like to start doing again. I go on and off. I do these gratitude hour, gratitude ritual, and then I stop. And then, funny enough, when I'm doing it, I feel the best. Okay? So, do that. Meditate on gratitude. Count your blessings. Have a gratitude ritual. And purify your mind. That's how you want to get to your subconscious. You want to set new neurological pathways in your brain that think, because our minds are so corrupt, we're always discontent. Our mind is like programmed. Your mind is a monkey mind. It's programmed to seek the next thrill. What we want to do is we want to reprogram it to be content with what is. Therefore, we must, I think it's one of the most efficient ways to do this is to meditate first. I like to use binaural beats. They get me in a deep state pretty quickly. We want to go from beta to alpha to theta state, which is a state of reception. That's the state children are in. Okay? And then in that state, we have much more access to the subconscious. We can talk to the subconscious. We can say, okay, from now on, we're grateful. We're grateful. I'm grateful. So you say, I'm grateful. You count your blessings. You say, thank you. And you gotta do this every day, folks, for a long time to actually begin to see the accumulative benefits. You're not gonna suddenly be content. You're not suddenly gonna be content if you're just all right, I'm fasting, I'm eating once a day, I'm just gonna eat fruits. No, actually, in the beginning, you're gonna kind of be more miserable because you're gonna go through a period of detoxification first, before you actually be like, whoa, my health has improved. Whoa, my knee pain is gone. Oh my God, all these pains are gone. It's the same thing like with like practicing gratitude, like saying thank you and affirming it. So it's not gonna suddenly happen. You may start to see like the cumulative benefits, maybe a few weeks in and a few months really. And you gotta, if it's use it or lose it, by the way. If you stop being grateful, if you stop sleeping, you're gonna be miserable. You're gonna be like a zombie. If you stop being grateful, it's unfortunate, although it is our natural state to be grateful, but because of the corruption that we've gone through, because of the corrupt world that we live in, we kind of have to do this every day, just like we have to sleep every day. Okay, well, we have to do this every day. All right. So yeah, there it is. It's that simple, really. Purify your mind, purify your body, and you'll come to a state of beautiful, beautiful contentment. That's it. No more seeking. No more seeking. It will feel like you're under the sun, being bathed with love and light and beauty every single moment of your life, regardless of the circumstances. You don't need an actual sun there. Could be minus 20 Celsius. And it's January and you're living in northern Canada. And you're like the most happy person on planet Earth. Plain Earth. Because you know what? Like, you're just content. Your body feels great. Your mind feels great. Your subconscious has been retrained to be grateful. You count your blessings. You say, wow, look at that beautiful snow. Wow, look at that. I'm healthy. You know, and then that's it, really. It's a hack. I just gave you a hack. I gave me a hack. I'm right there with you guys. I'm a student. Okay? That's our hack, ladies and gentlemen. Let's stop the constant seeking and chasing of the mirage, and let's actually go to the real source of we're all thirsty for this, right? Let's go and drink. Let's drink up the most sacred, beautiful water. Let's drink it up. Let's go to the source. Let's cultivate this inner contentment. It's a cultivation process. You're not gonna do this in 1 day or 2 days. You're gonna have to do this every day, probably for the rest of your life, to really, really, really hack the matrix. This is the hack. How do you hack the matrix? Okay? Thank you for watching and listening. If you would like to, if you get a couple of $1 million roaming around, I'm open to receive, okay? Down below is the donation button, the donation link, sorry. I appreciate all donations. Of course, it could be a couple of dollars. I'll take that with great appreciation. So thank you. I also do consultations. If you want to book a one-on-one consultation, you could do so. In the description is the link. I'll see you guys in the next video.